Hello.
Hi there, Shabnam.
Hi, Lars. How are you?
Very fine, thank you. So I'm gonna help you moderate and chair the session.
Yes, I'm going to be a panelist. Saeed is
Yes.
going to moderate the panel.
So I heard that you have some poll questions.
Yes, actually, but Saeed told me that there was a technical issue and we couldn't get it. He just joined. Hi, Saeed.
Hi, Saeed.
How are you?
So we were just discussing your poll questions. Could you tell me what they are?
Actually, we delete from our panel discussion. We have actually decided to set up a poll, but we dismissed. Yeah.
Yes, so I can help you set up a poll. Can you give me the questions, please?
Yes, just we deleted the questions because we have changed our plan for the poll, and so we don't have any poll for this panel discussion. We can just discussing, and at the end of the panel, we're going to answer the question of the audience.
Okay, I will speak very slowly. I can help you create a poll, but I need your questions so people can vote. It is very easy to create a poll.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, yes, I said we delete the question because we changed our plan to moderate the session, and where there's no question to put on the panel discussion. Yes.
We are not going to have the poll.
So you don't want a poll?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I could have helped you. Anyway, can you tell me who else is on the moderation panel? Is Aziz and Marushka there?
Yes, and Ghina. You can search Ghina Habibi.
So
Ghina Halabi.
Aziz, Koru, and Marushka Strah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I will let them in now. They are arriving now.
Hi.
Lars, can
Hi
you?
there.
Ghina is the last panelist. Yeah.
So can you tell me if any of you are going to share slides?
No, we don't have any slides.
No.
Just
okay.
Yeah.
Just talking.
Yes, just talking, discussing about the topic.
Okay, great.
Hi, Marushka. Hi, Aziz. It's nice to meet you.
Hello,
Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you all.
Eventually.
Okay. So where's Ghina? Lars, could you give the access to Ghina Halabi?
We can actually only be 5 as far as I know, but I can try. No, maybe it's 9 in this.
We have another panelist, yes, Ghina now, I think.
So he or she has to request access.
Yes, request access. So let me send a message to her.
Shabnam, where are you based?
I'm in Iran, Tehran.
I always wanted to come visit. It's on my list of countries I want to see.
It would be our honor to host you. I hope this COVID thing goes away pretty soon.
Fingers crossed.
Exactly. Have you had your vaccine?
Not yet.
Well, we neither.
Not yet. But I mean, Europe is on the right track. So,
where are you? Vienna?
I'm in Vienna.
Yeah. And Mr. Aziz, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you very much. And Miss Gina also came.
Nice to finally see you. Hi.
So, hi everyone. I think we are now complete
Yes,
with
exactly.
Halabi there. So I'd like to welcome you all for this panel session. I'd like to just remind you of a few things. If any of the attendees have questions, please use the Q&A section. The chat is for informal exchange of any ideas. Questions, please put them in the Q&A section. So there's a feedback form being circulated on Twitter. The hashtag is #VirtualCap2021. Just to remind you, this is a volunteer-run conference, and we're doing everything we can, but there could be technical glitches, so we ask for your patience and support. If you have technical problems, just use the intercom. And with that, I'd like to introduce our panelists. So we have a panel discussion today about astronomy and equality, diversity, and inclusion in the Middle East, challenges and solutions. We have Dr. Shabnam Yazdani, sorry for slaughtering your names here,
Okay.
Dr. Ghina M. Halabi, Marushka Strah, Aziz, Koru, and Saeed Jafari. Take it away. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from Iran. Thank you for joining this discussion, which will be, I hope, very enlightening. My name is Saeed Jafari, science communicator and science journalist from Iran. I'm very glad to moderate this panel today. We all know that the presence and contribution of women and diversity in STEM fields, especially, and astronomy and space have faced many challenges throughout the history. And the Middle East either is not an exception. Today, we are gathering diverse professionals and communicators to address the same challenges and possible solutions for diversity inclusion in astronomy and space community from a different point of view. We have 4 amazing panelists in this conversation. Marushka, Strah, Executive Director of World Specific Association. Next, Dr. Ghina Halabi, Founder and Executive Director of Specific Science. Next, Dr. Shabnam Yazdani, Regional Partnership Manager in Space Generation Advisory Council. Then we will have Aziz, Deputy Director General at Asia Pacific Space Cooperation Organization. I would like to now welcome our panelists. We are very happy to having you today. So the first set of questions that I'm going to ask to all panelists, we'll just kind of go one by one. And in the first question, I would like to tell us about your experience in your current or previous workplaces in astronomy community or space industry, and how women are welcomed in your workplaces, from statics to their contribution in the projects, their access, maybe restriction, and so on. Have you seen any modifications or improvements, officially or generally, in the way women are received or put in charge of the project in your workplace? I would like to give floor first to Ghina, please.
Thank you so much, Saeed. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with such accomplished panelists. And hello for everyone who has joined us today. I am dialing in from Cambridge in the United Kingdom. I'm an astrophysicist. I came to Cambridge in 2015 as a postdoc, and I worked at the Institute of Astronomy. Right now, I lead entrepreneurship development programs at the Cambridge University Judge Business School. And as Saeed mentioned, I'm a founder of She Speaks Science, which is a social enterprise that aims to promote STEM among the youth and women doing STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, and maths. I'm also part of the UNOSA, UN Office for Outer Space Affairs, mentorship space for women mentorship program. You asked about my experience. I did my PhD in astrophysics in Lebanon, in Beirut, at the American University of Beirut. And my PhD, the question is relevant here because my PhD was the first PhD in astrophysics that was made in Lebanon. And so that was something new. And when I talk about this among the young people in Lebanon, there's always a surprise. They don't know that this is a possibility in Lebanon. And so this comes back to the importance of communicating what we're doing. Since I graduated in 2015, since then, there has been one PhD in astrophysics after me, also a woman. And right now there's a third person finishing her PhD as well, a woman. So you see a pattern here, right? The majority are women. And indeed, when I was doing my master's degree and PhD back in Lebanon, the majority of the graduate students were females, right? But the majority stops at student level. Most of the professors, all of the professors back when I was doing my PhD, were men, right? Things are changing now, but however, back then, I felt supported immensely by the university, by my supervisor throughout my career, so my PhD. So I did not really feel any sorts of discrimination at the time that can be attributed to being a woman. My supervisor was very encouraging, very supportive, and now things are changing. So there's this realization of the need of better representation at professorship level. So now we have one professor, a woman professor, in the physics department, and change is happening very slowly, but still a lot more work is obviously needed. When I moved to Cambridge and I started my postdoc at the Institute of Astronomy, I think I was the first Middle Easterner to join. I think when I was there was no one else from the Middle East, and I asked around and nobody could remember someone from the Middle East joining. There was a good representation of women at postdoc level, researchers and senior researchers. But again, professors, 12% were women. But again, I felt at home immediately. It was a very welcoming environment. I got a great deal of support. I was first author on several papers. I owned my projects. I ran and I managed a research group, and I chaired the group meetings. So I did not feel at any disadvantage. But also I emphasize that this was my experience, and it's not universal, right? Different people have different experiences. But at that stage, I was keen on helping improve the situation in terms of representation. And at that time, I got involved with different initiatives to improve the participation of women and girls in STEM. And so I represented, for example, I mentioned the Institute of Astronomy at a conference called Women in Astronomy in Texas, in Austin, Texas. And at that time, I became part of the UNOOSA, UN Office for Outer Space Affairs, Space for Women Network. So that was happening around that time as well. And I also sat on something in the UK we call Athena Swan Committee, if you've heard about it, which is a UK charter to ensure good representation and diversity. And that was when the Institute, we managed to get our first Athena Swan Award.
So much.
To sum up, aside for you, there's always the odd meeting when, I would feel like spoken over or my opinion not taken into account. But the message here is I never took it personally. And I think I would attribute this tenacity and resilience to my upbringing as a Lebanese person, of course, fighting hardships and knowing what I wanted in life, I think has helped. And this is a message for our listeners today.
Thank you so much, Nina, for sharing your experience from Lebanon. Shabnam, what about you? As I know you're living in Iran with many of the challenges. What about you about the first question?
Well, Tina just mentioned that she doesn't believe her is universal. And I was thinking in my head that in about a second, it is going to be universal because it is exactly the experience I had. Well, let me just give you a few statistics to back up what I'm about to say. I was just Googling today that 58% of university acceptance rate in Iran are female. But on the other hand, and this university acceptance, I mean every major, from engineering to medicine to art, everything, which means that the majority are actually girls who are entering higher educations above the school. But on the other hand, when we go to the employment rate, this number drops significantly. It is only 19% of the work power of industry in Iran that are women. Now, this is exactly what I have experienced during my education and work as well. Well, my work experience, my previous work includes the university, which I was both studying and working at the same time, and later the space industry, which I was working for the agency. At higher education levels, such as PhD, there was sometimes only me, and along the path, there was only one other lady in another major. But in my bachelor, I could say that it was 50-50. We were most girls, and most of them didn't decide to continue through master's and PhD and later on into the industry. Some of them just chose to go through other careers with more future promising, or some of them just chose to become a housewife and chose to start a family, actually, and chose the motherhood role. Very few of us continued through PhD and later on to the industry. I can recall that there was only 4 of us in the industry among more than 30 men. But again, as Lena mentioned, I have never observed or experienced any legislative discrimination. There was never any law preventing any of us from any right, as far as we had them and the skills, the required skills. And I am pretty much acquainted with very successful women who just continued and insisted on being successful in this path, and they are managers of very big and high-tech projects. But recently, this experience has changed. In my time, there was really no success story of women who had passed and they were successful. But right now, we have become examples, and I see that more women are actually encouraged to continue in this path and actually continue their education and career. And especially there are women that are starting their own businesses in space, and they're having their own startups in space industry and astronomy as well. And they're pretty much successful too.
Thank you so much, Shabnam. Marushka, since you're currently working with World Specific Association as an international organization, what is your experience from outside? As Shabnam and Ghina just talking about inside of the Middle East. What about you?
I could talk about this for hours, probably, because I do consider myself blessed because I work with incredible people, but when I say people, I mean men and women who recognize the fact that we have to work together in order to be successful. That doesn't mean that women are better or that men are better. It means that we actually have to work together. What I do see as an obstacle is the fact that we are discussing lack of opportunities and obstacles for women as a global issue. We have to focus on this as problems that are regional, cultural, generational. Obstacles that I have are nothing in comparison to obstacles that my mother is facing or was facing when she was studying and when she was pursuing her career. And let me say that I was raised by incredible women who did a lot of great work in the past and in their studies. Yes, perhaps there are no laws prohibiting women from entering the workforce, absolutely. But we do need to keep in mind that when it comes to having a family, for example, paid maternity leave, but no paid paternity leave, does influence women to stay at home and take care of the family. And again, I cannot stress this enough. I do believe that every woman deserves equal respect. If you choose to be a mother, absolutely fantastic. It is the exact same respect from my side as a doctor or a person who chooses their career. However, if you make this distinction between fathers not having the paternity leave, that means that they will go and they will work, especially in young families, right? That means a year or 2 years of being outside of academia or being outside of the workforce. And that does create differences. So if you ask me, what would be empowering women would be also empowering men, to let them stay with their families, to let them be a part of their households. They would be empowered as well. Might not be career-wise, but is equally, if not even more important. And these are the small distinctions that, unless you are put in a position where you have to make a choice, you don't really consider. And I do think that recognizing these differences would benefit everyone and not take from anyone. And is something that I hope we will start discussing in a rational way, so we can actually become equal partners rather than just discuss obstacles and what are the challenges.
Thank you so much, Marushka. You mentioned very important point from our side. I would like to move on with Aziz, whose experience collaborating at national and international level. What's your thoughts as a male to answer this question?
Thank you very much, Saeed. First of all, I'm really glad to be in this panel. As a person who works in a national and international organization, I think I may say something about what I have experienced in my study life and work life. So I would like to start with my study in the university. Maybe I'm a little bit lucky because the university where I was studying is located in the capital city, and that university was one of the well-known university in Turkey. That's why mostly the successful students, females and males, were choosing that university. And there is a kind of balance actually in that university time, and I may easily say that especially the technical departments were chosen by, I may easily say that especially for the engineering related departments were chosen by males generally. But this doesn't mean that females, they don't like, women, they don't like those engineering departments. And till my university time, I never experienced a bad experience actually relating with the gender equality. And always from my experience in some student clubs and also from the departments, we have a kind of a balance actually for the number of people, from females and males who are studying. When we come to the working environment and during my working life experience, I may also divide this into two, because I almost worked in 10 years for national and international project support related departments. And at that time, I may easily observe the researchers' behavior and also researchers' team diversity. In Turkey, I may easily say that, and maybe it can be also the same in most of the some of the Middle East countries. Maybe due to the nature of being an academician or being in a scientific world is a kind of advantage for females or women. Mostly the women are selecting those academic works or research related work. This may be different for engineering and all fundamental sciences. For example, I may easily say in Turkey, the number of women who selects astronomy or space science related subjects are mostly the women are they like a lot actually to go in that type of fields. But for engineering, you may also divide in different scale. For example, for mechanical engineering, mostly the male or male dominant engineering departments in my country, in Turkey. But when it comes to some electrical engineering or computer engineering or material science engineering, those departments, the women's and men's can be balanced, or again, mostly the males, they selecting those departments because in our countries, if you were graduated from these departments, you may have a more secure life in your future career and also future life. And as I have said, I may divide my working life experience into two. One is related with funding research, and the other one is real research. During my working life related with funding research and monitoring and managing those type of activities, in those type of departments, I may easily say that women are more successful and more dominant because I have that experience, and I'm really happy to work with my colleagues at that time, especially in my country. Those type of departments, I mean, if it is related with communication and public related issues, even it is related with research and technology funding, those departments are mainly dominant for women workers, I may say. But when it comes to the pure research, especially related with space, because I worked also in Space Technology Research Institute in Turkey before I joined Asia Pacific Space Cooperation Organization, I may easily say that especially the engineering parts are mainly dominant by males. But coming to the departments related with, for example, supporting departments for these engineering and scientific works, those departments mainly dominated by women. I may easily say that. But of course, there are some exceptions. In some specific research groups, we always have women researchers as well. But the number cannot be the same like the number of males. I may easily say this. And also now the place where I'm working right now, also you are familiar with Asia Pacific Space Cooperation Organization. Our secretariat also a kind of a positive place for the number of women working. I think more than 50% of our employees are women. So this is again actually comes to my first place where I was working, because this organization also is supporting and also have some more communication and public relations related skills needed. And mostly those type of work are mainly the women are more successful. Maybe the reason easily I can say that if the work is related with communication and public affairs, I think those type of places are mainly dominant by women. But this doesn't mean that the research works are not just managed by men, because for Turkey, I may easily say that in many places the academic work is dominated by women. I may easily say that. So this could be a end of my first answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aziz, and thank you for also bringing a different perspective and a different point to the table. Thank you for your answers to the first question. I would like to ask all our panelists to tell us about your point of view, either your personal experiences or observations. What do you think are the most common challenges and discriminations of women in astronomy community or space industry in the Middle East? So we'd like to start off by asking this question to Shabnam, please.
Well, in my opinion, I believe that space is about merit, hard work, and discipline. And in my experience, wherever that these three elements are available, gender and actually diversity have never become an issue. I myself have conducted numerous projects, and I am very well acquainted with women who are currently conducting very technical projects, are in charge, actually, are manager of the projects, for example, satellite projects, that have the discipline, have the courage, and are doing the hard work, and there have never been any issue for them to be the person to actually conduct this kind of activity. But as I mentioned in my previous answer, when the number of women are low and the quantity is low, and the environment becomes male-dominated, it is kind of natural, I think, that one can expect some sort of misconduct or misbehavior during time. This can start actually from easy steps such as just a simple jealousy and not being able to accept the merit of a woman being in charge or being the manager, to very higher levels of even emotional harassment, which in time, during very long time, when it actually repeats itself numerous times, this can become very exhausting and even might tire the person to the level she might decide to change her path or change her career, just because the male-dominated environment cannot tolerate her merit. So I have observed in my own experience and from others' experience that although the teamwork spirit in the technical project is really high and really great, actually, when it comes to the vocational positions, the teamwork spirit somehow somewhat reduces. And this is not general, and this is not for every case. Not always this happens. I have had so many colleagues that I have worked with that were men and were completely supportive, and we had a great collaboration. But I have also experienced some levels of reduced teamwork spirit at some levels that eventually just made a very huge glitch that we could just not continue. But on the bright side, I have always had very positive feedbacks from common people in the society, from my own family to common people in the streets, or when I was actually in TV or other platforms. People have always been encouraging. They have always expressed how proud they were. And they are always interested and excited about space activities. They find it very miraculous and very exciting. But in the workplace, I have, for the very discreet, actually, discrimination, I have experienced some low levels of teamwork spirit.
Thank you so much, Shabnam, for your insight. You started a project a few years ago to build a positive STEM identity among the youth and highlight women scientists. So you must have heard many stories from women. Do you have any comment on this question that I asked based on your experience to launching these projects?
Yes, thank you, Saeed. I think the challenges that women in the Middle East face in astronomy aren't inherent to astronomy as such. They apply to any women in STEM or in a professional field or having a career. I looked at some numbers. Globally, the STEM-based careers go to about 29% women. 29% of women occupy these careers. In the UK, for example, 22. And I looked at the numbers in the Arab world, and it's funny because it's always stuck at this 20-something%, around 20% as well. So if you think about it, really, given all the turbulence, political and security issues happening in places around the Middle East, it's encouraging. You find that, about 20 to 30% of women take up STEM subjects. And so they are empowered, they are motivated, they are ambitious. But of course, social discrimination can sometimes be in the way. And as Aziz mentioned, it really depends on which region you are from. If you are from a rural village, it varies if you are, for example, from a big city. And sometimes even the family you're born into. So I was lucky, I was born in a family that didn't think a woman cannot do science. So all my three, myself and my two siblings, all three of us, two girls and one boy, we did science subjects. But that isn't the experience of every woman. As Marushka mentioned, sometimes expectations to become a mother, and I've heard things like that, anecdotal evidence that this exists, as if they are mutually exclusive. You either become a successful woman career-wise, or you have a family, as if you cannot do both, which is wrong. Working on She Speaks Science, Saeed, I think two things are probably the biggest disadvantage. One is the isolation. For myself, I was doing my PhD. I wasn't working in a research group. I was on my own with my PhD supervisor. And this really, really affects the morale, affects the networking possibilities and all of this. And I find this experience being replicated right now, especially for women doing astronomy. The second one is sometimes the general atmosphere in the country puts a lid on one's dream, especially if you cannot see the end of the tunnel. And sometimes disappointment, sometimes the injustice start to erode one's hopes for a better future. And this is where role models become really, really important to bring about this possibility. Think about for example, the first Arab woman to possibly become an astronaut or be training for an astronaut, Noura al-Matroushi from the UAE. It's a very, very powerful thing. It's a very powerful concept to see these women, to give hope. Through She Speaks Science, of course, we promote role models for this reason, to see the possibility exists. And when I visit Lebanon, of course, before the pandemic, I try to give talks for the people, because identification is very important for the people in Lebanon, the young people in Lebanon, to believe that they can actually do something. They can take up astronomy. They really need to see the Lebanese people who are doing it, who are successful in that field elsewhere. This gives them hope. And this is also the aim of a network like Space for Women from UNUSA, on which Marushka is also a mentor, to have this global representation of women doing STEM subjects and space subjects, and inspiring women in their, where they live, in their entourage, people they identify with.
Thank you, Ghina. Thank you for initiating She Speaks Science to be voice of many of women and young girls from the Middle East. Aziz, what common challenges did you see from the presence of women in the organization where you work, both in APSCO and your organization in Turkey? Aziz, you are muted.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. Saeed, thank you very much. I may maybe summarize the challenges I have face to face in my work life in Turkey and also in here, China. Especially those challenges includes not just for women, actually. I mean, those challenges are also for men's. Maybe because of the nature of the places I work, I may easily say that those places are a kind of places that the people were selected as a competition-based selection. So the best people are selected to work in those type of places. That's why generally, actually, the places when they recruit people or when they promote some people. They just look for the success of the person. But generally, for many national or international funding mechanisms, to change the general situation, they may set some regulations. The legislative regulations, but those legislative regulations are just to provide, just to satisfy the balance between the males and the women in the working environments, and especially related with research. So I'm not generalizing the topic, the gender equality, but focused more on STEAM-related areas. Mostly the engineering, science, and mathematics or technology-related things for sure. So those areas, saying the truth, there is a competition actually among the people, and those competitions are based on the success of the people, the persons, to be recruited, and generally, to provide a kind of a good atmosphere for all the people in a place. There could be a kind of a balance also need to be taken care. So the challenges is, I can easily say that for some specific research groups, generally, for example, women cannot apply for those positions or those works. So then there could be some difficulties. But generally, for the research-related areas, we have a advantageous position. I may easily say that in Turkey we have advantageous position because when people's research groups or some organizations, or this could be also the company related with space, when they apply for some funding for some projects through the system coming from top, they need to provide some gender equality. So these type of things are important, I may say, because through the system, actually, the peoples can recruit more women in that way, that they may easily think that in the future, when they apply for some funding mechanisms, they need to show their gender equality. Maybe this could be a kind of a case for them to recruit more women, but for a short period of time, this could be just to provide the necessity. But in the long term thinking, this type of approach can change the general environment of the working areas. And provides the gender equality in the future. So right now, I may easily say that the working environments, especially for research-related places, are mostly competition-based. That's why there is no burden, I may easily say that, for not just for women, also for the men. I may easily say this. So the challenges is actually due to the increasing population, and also due to the available works for everybody, unavailability for everybody. There is a kind of competition, and that competition makes people to study or work more. So I may easily say that the challenges is the lack of work or different positions for everybody. But also coming to my experience, till now, almost more than half of my work, I work for my managers, they are women. So maybe I have an advantageous position for this situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Aziz. I would eventually like to ask Marushka to please compare the answers with common challenges that are found elsewhere in the world, as you are keeping in touch with many national coordinators in a world-specific association.
So we do see a lot of challenges for women. One, I mean, if I could, I would sum up the words that were said by Shabnam and by Ghina, because they completely summarize and reflect what is the current situation of women. I do believe that it is of great importance, and what is really, really important for our participants is that they see women in these positions. Women who look like them, who talk like them, who come from their background, that go to the same schools, that made it, that are now successful, that were deciding what they're gonna do and choosing their professions. If you want to go to study, so you actually pursue a career, not just to become a better wife or a better sibling or a better child of parents that will be proud of you because you decided to study, right? But actually because you want to, because this is something that is empowering you. And this is why our theme for 2021 is Women in Space, because we want to showcase role models, women who are incredibly successful, who are incredibly accomplished, that we can all just look up to, and that have done amazing work in the space sector on every level, right? What is also important is to know that role models do not only come from the highest managerial positions, they can be classmates. For someone from high school, a university student can be a role model. We need to have a group of women. And I do think that the UNUSA Space for Women network is a group of incredible and accomplished women that are definitely the first step to do that, right? To allow girls, to allow students to be mentored by women, to share their experiences. This is how we can move on. This is how we can progress. This is how we move forward from everything that happened in the past. I also think that a lot of problems that are happening for women are generational. A lot of things that were accepted years ago are not accepted anymore. And that is a good thing, right? That means everyone, learned something. I was never harassed. I was never put in an inferior position. I never had these problems. I have to knock on wood, because I was blessed by working with incredible men who never saw me as a woman working for them, but saw me as a person who contributes to the organization that is really, really good. And that makes all the difference, I think. Once we start looking at each other as human beings and recognizing the fact that we have, again, I cannot stress this enough, that we have to work together, and that role models come from different places, that are different sizes, that are different ages and have different experiences. Once we start learning one from one another, everyone benefits.
Thank you so much, Marushka. You mentioned very good point. As I know, you are part of the mentorship program in UNOSA. I want to turn back, Ghina. Based on your space and astronomy promoting activity in She-Speaks Science, please tell us a little about the possible opportunities that women have in astronomy and space community, especially in the Middle East, and how they can utilize them. Do you think these opportunities have been changed since you have begun your career in astronomy?
Yes, to mention a little bit about She-Speaks Science and explain what we do for those who are listening to us today, and to tie it with the experience of Middle Eastern women. One of the products of She-Speaks Science is an online publication called Shahrazad. And I'm sure many of you know who Shahrazad is, the storyteller, and maybe Shabnam knows Shahrazad as well. Shahrazad, who faced the injustice of the king, who wanted to destroy all the women in the kingdom by an act of jealousy and madness. Through her stories, she was able to overcome that justice. And so when I started She-Speaks Science, I wanted to transform the concept from an injustice embedded in the shape of a king in this 1001 Nights, the tales of 1001 Nights. The injustice now is not a person. The injustice is a concept, right? and a concept that we cannot fight with a sword. We need to fight it by our presence, by being role models, by being visible, by having that agency to fight that evil, which is sometimes a conscious and unconscious bias inside each one of us. So storytelling is really powerful here. This Shahrazad, the vehicle through which we deliver these stories and engage the youth, but not just the youth, also the parents, the general public, so that they would be aware of how they are raising their girls and their boys, and be very wary of the gender stereotypes they are feeding into their young brains. So our online publication features stories about the research and the work of women all over the globe, from Iran to Jordan to Lebanon to Chile and Mexico and Europe, all over the world. And so this is the power of role models, and also to bring about the power of the network and to bring about these opportunities, as you asked, Saeed, for the young women. We started a mentorship program called Penta 5, and the Penta program reaches 5 regions in the globe: the Middle East, Asia, Africa, Latin America, and Europe and Northern America. And we have, so to bring together women from 5 different career stages, from executive level down to school students, and link them in a one-to-one mentorship model. So each woman in this tightly knit community will mentor the one below her on the career level, career ladder, and be mentored by the one above, to establish this sense of responsibility in our community. The idea that whoever you are, someone is looking up to you as a role model. And this program includes Palestinians and Lebanese, and we're really, really proud of that, because by linking up these women from India, I mean, the program has 24 countries represented, from Mexico to Malaysia. And so bringing these women and girls together to exchange good practice, ideas, aspirations, dreams, and schemes is really, really very powerful. And if you know someone who would benefit from She Speaks Science activities, please do visit us on shespeaksscience.com. And obviously, through this Space for Women network that you mentioned by Yunusa, it's a global network through which I also am part, and I manage to mentor 2 Lebanese women. And sometimes, Saeed, sometimes is just about connecting people, a young girl to the right people, or making it normal and natural to be struggling, to find these subjects, physics and chemistry, hard, and they need dedication. Sometimes it's just about telling them that it's okay and it's healthy to have multiple interests, because otherwise they think, is it right? Am I lost, or is it right? And I know, to conclude, that the IAU, of course, is putting a lot of effort to bring new possibilities to women and girls and young people, boys as well, in Lebanon, through enabling partnerships and helping them fundraise. And obviously now, when I was studying back in Lebanon, I mean, I got a smartphone when I was doing my PhD. Now students have a smartphone back when they're at school, right? They'd be 7 or 8 years old. So the dynamic has changed completely. And now they have this powerful resource at their fingertips. But just as it would be a powerful resource, it could, and a treasure trove of information, it could be a dangerous and misguiding tool. And this is where education is crucial. It is key. Awareness at family level, at society level, at school and university and the workplace. And I think it starts with a sense of responsibility and trust. We need our women and girls to be empowered. And to do that, we really need to instill a sense of responsibility towards themselves and their futures, because years of disempowerment can cause a despondency, can cause inertia and a resignation to what our fate, to what their fate could be, what their future could be. So how do we pull generations out of that? How do you break free? Instead of telling a girl, you are fragile, so I will protect you and you will always depend on me, So don't you worry about a thing. Instead of saying that, we really need to say you are strong, educated, and capable. Your life and your future are your own responsibility, and the choices you make will have consequences that you really need to own up to. And this is how we start to enable and to support rather than disempower and disenfranchise.
Thank you so much, Ghina. Thank you. I appreciate all your words about this question. Shabnam, based on your experience in Middle Eastern and space industry of Iran and answers of Ghina and Marushka, which of the opportunities and capacities are available in Iran, and which do you think should be added?
I have been working as the space business developer, space application business developer for about 3 years, 4 years in a space agency. And I'm gonna just complete that. Once we started talking about space and once we started spreading the word, the attentions were actually attracted, and more people from different backgrounds were attracted and interested to actually either start a business, start a career, or even use the results of it. There are numerous governmental organizations in Iran that support small to medium enterprises and digital businesses or businesses that are based on internet and other platforms, such as Vice Presidency of Science and Technology, which is directly connected to the president, or different programs that are actually being promoted by different ministries, such as the Ministry of Communication Technology. They all support startups and small businesses that are innovative and have something new to add to the society, such as smart transportation community or anything related to space businesses. So the opportunity and is required to step in to space industry are available, such as every other facility that is available for other businesses today in Iran. But still, we are experiencing not a very great flow, but after a 2-year of constant talking and promoting, we experienced about 20% raise of startups that were actually active in a space industry. And among all the employments they had, only 25% of them were female. This was very promising at a time for me. That this showed that although we're being educated and having the same skills as men in the same university and in the same career, but this number is actually raising, and more women are getting interested in starting a startup or starting a business in space and other related topics. The requirements to actually excel and accelerate in it was pretty common, and it had no difference between men or women. There were numerous educating programs, teaching programs that taught them the skills. But what was really lacking was the mentorship, that someone had already gone this way and succeeded and knew the obstacles and could mentor someone who is actually entering new. Or there are numerous financial aids for startups, especially even nowadays for space businesses. And there are even access to facilities such as the space assets or data that are even free from European Space Agency and other agencies. They're even distributing the data for free. So they all have access to the requirements, such as satellite data to actually start a business or start a career. in this sector. But still, women are pretty slow because they might not, as my own experience, they might not believe in themselves or believe in their capacity and capabilities. While this number shows that they're going to excel in the near future, and they're going to have some role models growing right now, and in near future more women will be added to this industry.
Thank you so much, Shabnam, and that I'm so appreciative of the work that you are doing in STEM and with women and girls. And finally, I would like to wrap up the panel and head to question by asking Marushka about the World-Specific 2021, which is entitled Women in Space. Could you please let us the reason why this slogan is chosen this year, and what do you expect to conclude from this year's events and activities around the world?
Thank you so much, Saeed. This is indeed a wonderful question, and I was hoping I'm going to get the opportunity to talk more about women in space and World Space Week. So the reason why we chose this topic is very simple: to showcase the accomplishments of women, to provide younger generations with role models, to show that it can be done. What we're going to be doing this year is have a series of podcasts with professionals who will be sharing accomplishments of women. The other special program that we started in 2021 is a webinar series on women in space, where we're talking with women from a number of regions, a number of countries, sharing their own personal stories and how they've overcome the obstacles they were facing. We are really, really grateful for the support of Lockheed Martin and our honorary chair, Lisa Callahan, who have been nothing but supportive of women in space and have been really, really supportive of the association as well. And they are helping us with achieving our goals. Our goals for this year are to identify these obstacles. What are identifying the unique obstacles that women are facing when entering the space sector? What to do to keep us in working here, working in space, not just come and leave or study STEM and not pursue careers in the space sector. And at the end, contribute to discussions with other organizations and hopefully find solutions. I'm not sure if we're gonna be finding enough solutions to solve this issue in 2021, but I remain an idealist forever and always. So I think baby steps, and if we continue working together and having this open conversations, I think everyone can learn something, and we will, improve the situation we are facing.
Thank you so much, Marushka, and thanks as a whole of panelists for bringing with such a diverse insight into this topic. Just as I mentioned, this panel is recorded, so you can watch it again later and share it with all our network. Thank you so much from our fantastic panelists for joining this panel discussion. Thank you for your honesty and on your answer. Lars, we have one question. Is it true? From Danielle Sutter. What do you do to keep these STEM clubs active in their schools? I think it's the question is directed to Ghina. Yeah, Ghina or Shabnam.
I think it's very important to motivate teachers. I really believe in the role of teachers as a direct influencer on the students, and the governments would also play a big role in enabling schools to have activities. Here in the UK, there are lots of astronomy clubs, for example, but we also see very huge interest from corporates to sponsor clubs in schools because they want to feed the pipeline for recruitment later, of course, and they want that talent, that STEM talent. So I don't know what the role of the person asking is, whether it's a parent, whether you're a parent or you're a teacher. It depends who you are really and what your role is. But empowering teachers and the government, lobbying the government for, giving money for schools to be able to do such activities for the students.
Thank you so much, Ghina. I think the time is over. Thank you so much, Ghina, Marushka, Aziz, and Shabnam for your all insight from our Middle East. Thank you so much. So, last.
Yeah. Thank you very much also from the side of the SOC. This was really highly engaging, interesting. It's now time for the e-posters, which you will find in your screen on the lower left. Thanks all for coming. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Oh, it was nice.
Thank
Nice
you.
to
Bye.
meet you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.